resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead is the ultimate comeback story. Because Jesus rose again from the dead, he has beaten death for us and every other obstacle, and he has given that victory to us. The victory of Jesus Christ manifests itself in the life of every believer, and we want to share a couple of those comeback stories out of the lives of people in our family of faith.
So Robert, this is a year and a half ago, you decided you got to start getting in shape.
That's correct.
So talk about where you go and what you do. What's your workout schedule?
Usually 3 or 4 days a week, I go to a gym called No Off Season. It's owned by Gavin and Brandon Willison, two brothers. Grew up here in Fairhope, both tremendous athletes, but better people, which is a good thing. And everything about their lives is based on really the gospel. They use the gym to spread the word, essentially. And so Ryan Smith had been going there. He's our youth pastor, and he'd been going there for a number of years. It's kind of funny. He used to be kind of a skinny guy, and then I realized, Ryan, you kind of filled out what's the deal. And he said he'd been going up there. So I thought, well, maybe they can fix this old man's broken down body as well. And so they were kind enough to kind of let me come up there and take me under their wing. As you get older, they're telling you need to do more weight bearing stuff. So I said, well, I probably ought to do something, but I need somebody to help me with that. So, and I enjoy it. Just the atmosphere is good. A lot of good people in there. And Ryan, he's a fun guy to hang around with anyway. So, I've been going there about right at 6 weeks.
So take us to that day. You're working out, and there's a friend named Ham who had been talking about coming, and he finally came.
He did. Ryan had invited Ham, same as me, saying, this is a place you ought to come. I'd actually been at our farm the day before and drove in that morning doing some work up there, and decided to stay and drove in that morning to do my workout. And I always want to make sure I told Gavin I got credit. I had finished my workout, so I wanted to get credit for the day. Anyway, but I'd finished and just wasn't feeling really good. And I'd felt that way, had felt that way before from running. Had been dehydrated, just you don't feel good and getting a little nauseous. And so I kind of stopped, said, I just don't feel great. Went in, tried to, get a little water, do something. Wasn't feeling very good, so I laid down. Ryan came over. He said, what's the problem? And I said, I just don't feel good. And
Ham saw you too. And Ham is an EMT.
He's an EMT. And so I actually just laid down on the floor, and Ryan put a fan on me because I was feeling really hot. And so I said, I'm just going to kind of lay down. Maybe it'll go away. So I laid on the floor, and then I started to really kind of get a pain right through here in my chest. And so I'm just not feeling good. And one of the ladies that works out was there. And I said, Ryan needs to come over here. Ryan needs to come over here. So he comes over, and Ham kind of comes over, and they go, what's the problem? I said, man, I've just got a bad pain in my chest. I don't feel good. And then Gavin comes over, and everybody's kind of looking at me at that point, and they go, you think you're having a heart attack? Well, the first thing is, no, I've never had a heart attack. I don't know what a heart attack feels like. And I'm thinking, I'm not that guy. I said, no, I don't, maybe I pulled a muscle, maybe I've done something. So Ham, he starts really kind of checking me out, feeling my pulse, kind of what's going on, asking me questions. And he goes, well, my pulse was normal. Everything kind of seemed okay. And they go, what do you want to do? I don't know. And maybe it'll go away. Just let me lay here for a minute. And then my arm really kind of started to hurt. And that's when Ham was like, this is not right. And so he's kind of checking me, and he said he needs to go to Malvis, and this, which is a new standalone ER they built north of here. And he said, don't take him to Thomas. Take him too long. Take him to Malvis. I know there's nobody there. Ham worked at that ER. And he said, and I'm going to call him. And I go, should we call an ambulance? He said, no. He said, it'll take too long for the ambulance to get here. Go ahead and take him right now. So Ryan, I couldn't even stand up at that point.
So you are
I'm
getting
on the
worse
ground.
quickly.
And I'm getting worse. And yeah, and so he goes, "What do you?" I said, "Yeah, I think I need to go." And so Ryan goes to get his Jeep because I can't walk to the front door. So he's driving his Jeep around to the back door, which is pretty close to where I'm at. And he actually calls Kevin Pruitt. Kevin's an ER doc, member of our church. So Ryan calls Kevin while he's driving around, and Kevin answers the phone, which is incredible. He happened to be off, so he answers his phone. If he'd been working, he wouldn't have answered his phone. So Ryan's telling Kevin what's going on, and Kevin says, "You need to give him an aspirin right now and tell him to chew it. Don't let him swallow it. You tell him to chew it." So Ryan gets around back, and I can't get up. So Gavin, Brandon, and Ham have to pick me up. Fortunately, they're really strong guys. And so they're picking me up, taking me outside, and having to put me in Ryan's Jeep.
So you happen to work out when Ryan is there. You happen to be there, Ham's first time there, who is an emergency medical technician. Ryan happens to call an ER doctor who was off and answered the phone to tell you to chew the aspirin. Something tells me
something's going
there's
on.
a reason for you still being here.
That's kind of what people think, because so they put me in the Jeep, and Ryan says, "We need to get him an aspirin." Well, Brandon runs inside, comes back. Unbeknownst to me, there's one aspirin pack in their first aid kit. And so I actually have the second one. So they gave me one, and I still have the aspirin pack. They found it in Ryan's floorboard. So I chew that up and actually kind of got sick, threw up a decent amount of it, but enough, they said, got in me. So, but they had one aspirin.
So now you're
I'm in the Jeep
on the way to ER. You're feeling worse. What are you thinking at that time as you are bumping down the road?
Well, one, it's a frightening drive with Ryan driving because he's not stopping for anything. And I don't remember us stopping, I'll say that, for anything. I know he ran one red light up near Daphne High School because that's the only time I opened my eyes and I saw the light was red and he was going through it. Other than that, I can't tell you if we got green lights or what we got, but he's going and probably halfway there, I really think I might be dying. It's just kind of was there. So I start talking to Ryan and telling him what I want him to tell Leisha, my wife, what I want him to tell my kids. It wasn't, I would say, a calmness, but I wasn't afraid.
It was almost matter of fact.
It was.
So what does that tell you about, in the sense you're facing death at the moment, and you didn't seem to be totally?
No, I was, in one sense, I'm okay with going, still am. My father died of the same thing that happened to me at 53. So I've been, for a number of years, I'm 62 now, so I'm on roughly what I'd call 9 years of plus time is the way I called it. When he died 30 days after his 53rd birthday. And so I felt like every day from November 20th, oddly, from the time I was about to mark on that day, another year plus time, 2 more days, almost didn't make it. But I figured if every day past 53, then I was winning because I didn't get that with my dad, so my kids got it with me. So I felt like I've kind of been on the plus side of a good life anyway. And
then you get to Melbus.
Actually get more.
And the doctor's there, and what do they, obviously, you survived. Yeah. What do they say about what Ryan and Ham did as far as what it meant for your survival?
Well, what they told me was the aspirin bought me the time I needed to get to the ER. if they hadn't given me the aspirin, I wouldn't have made it to the ER, in spite of everything Ham had done. So that's why I mentioned Kevin, how important that was. They got me stabilized. They did a fantastic job. It was exactly like Ham said. He had called. Nobody was there. Ryan got a chair, went straight in, didn't even go to the counter, basically. Took me straight back. They pumped me full of stuff to open me up. And I actually started feeling better. But then I actually had another heart attack in the ER. While Ham got up there to check on me, and he's in the room, and I had another one. And then they started giving me IV blood thinners to open everything up. And I got stabilized and actually started feeling better. The ER doc ran all the tests. Believe it or not, everything was normal. Everything showed normal. And he didn't believe it. He just said I don't believe it's indigestion. I don't believe it's a muscle spasm. I just don't trust. He goes, we're going to wait and we're going to run tests, because apparently there's a chemical called troponin that will show up if you've had injury to the heart muscle, and it wasn't showing up. And he said, I just don't believe it. And he goes, if I send you home and this happens again, a lot of people will get sent home. Then they think, well, it's not a heart attack and you'll be dead. So he ran some more tests, waited, and he said, I've called Thomas. We're going to send you down there just because you got history of heart disease with your dad. And we're going to let them look at you. As they were loading me in the ambulance, they got the results back from the second round. And he goes, you're still normal, but it's climbing. And so I think that shows something had happened, even though we don't know exactly what. But I'm talking to them like I'm talking to you. I'm joking. I feel great. I didn't want to go in the ambulance. I said, let my wife take me. And they go, we'd have to unhook you from all this stuff. So I said, okay, let me go. And so I'm down there, and they still can't find anything wrong with me. I'm in ICU, hooked up, and they can't find anything wrong. They finally came in that night and said, we're going to give you a cath in the morning because of your family history, even though we're not sure what happened.
And it turns out you did have a heart attack.
Yes. Nobody wanted to use that word. Oddly enough, they don't like to use that word. So my cardiologist is great. He's actually a friend of ours. I had to ask him, I said, Frank, did I have a heart attack? He goes, 100%. And I said, why won't they tell me? He goes, they just don't like to use that word.
So how long did it take for you to recover and then get back to home?
As soon as I was off the table. But that's when we found out all the things that I've told you. We were kind of, I don't know if they call it gallows humor. We're taking bets on how many stents I'm going to have. We're thinking I've got some minor blockages. They'll clear it up. I'll be fine. We're kind of joking the night before. I come out of the cath lab. I'm starting to wake up, and my wife and daughter are over me, and they're both crying. And I'm like, what happened? What's the problem here? And you should be crying maybe beforehand, And they said, you almost died. And I said, what are you talking about? And said, the doctor said you had probably 10 minutes left. And that if they hadn't given you that aspirin, that got you to the ER so they could give you the stuff that has kept you alive, that my left anterior descending artery, which is the widowmaker, was 90+% blocked going to 100. Apparently a piece had broken off and jammed in there, and that's what caused the heart attack. It hadn't been a slow thing, it was a quick thing. He said most people don't survive that because of how long it takes.
So you mentioned as you were going in the middle of all this, relatively calm, thinking that it could be over. Now, after the fact, looking back, how do you look at what happened as a teaching moment for others?
Eric told me that I needed to kind of journal I'm not a great journaler, but he said, you need to write down all these thoughts. When you're sitting in the ER by yourself and in an ICU by yourself, you have a lot of time to think because nobody's there and you can't sleep. And so I did write a lot of things down, more than we could really cover here. The main thing was, when I started in the ministry, January of 19, beginning of that year, every morning when I get up, I have kind of the same prayer. Lord, show me where you're working today. I want to be able to see you at work, because if you're not in it, I don't want to be in it. And if you're not working, I don't have anything to do. I need you to show me how you work. And he gave me a great picture of how he works. Some people call it a miracle. I really don't use that term. It was simply God's provision. I think it's how he works every day. I just got a peek at all the things he does every day for us to stay alive and to stay engaged in the work that he wants us to do. The thing I told Eric was, he finally answered that prayer in a way that I would understand. I mean, I've seen incredible things of how he works, but it was really almost like, Robert, you've been praying that now for 10 months. You really want to see? And I would go, yes. He goes, well, it's going to hurt. If you really want to see, it's going to hurt. And even knowing, I would say, I want to see. I'll take it. I want to know how you work. And he was like, I want to show you all the things that I do for you every day out of love, just so you can enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy the work that you do, the work that I give you. In fact, my ministry is based off Ephesians 2:10, which is we are his creation. We are created in his workmanship, and we're created for good works. But he's prepared these good works in advance that we would walk in them, that everything is always lined up for us in advance, because we're his workmanship, created to do one thing, which is do what he's planned in advance. And when I started lining up all the things that had to be in place for me to survive, it's just incredible, the detail. Even to the fact that they had to start building that ER years ahead of time, because I would not have survived if they had to take me to Thomas. It's just too far.
How has this changed your ministry?
For one, it's just a sense of trying to teach people to live in gratitude. This is the day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about yesterday. It's about living the day that he's given us. And I had been a guy to be, I ranked my days. Some days were better than others. November 19th was going to be our 36th wedding anniversary. And I was thinking about what was going to happen the next day. I almost didn't get there. So the 18th was not really going to be an important day for me. It turned out to be really probably one of the most important days of my life. And that's it. There are no throwaways when you're doing God's work. Every day you should be grateful for, because he's working.
Even if it's the last day.
Even if it's the last day. Up and until your last breath, you are here to do work for him, which means to proclaim his glory in the little things, even sitting here in a chair with you, making a new friend, answering a text message. You get a chance to display compassion, display love, concern for others every single day. If you're thinking that this day is not important, you are wrong. I was wrong. And he taught me a great lesson in that, because God is about the details, and he orders so many things for us to enjoy this day, to be able to take that next deep breath. It's absolutely awe-inspiring. And I look at each day that same way. I tell people, when I wake up in the morning, I look for two things. I either going to see Jesus or I'm going to see my wife. Either one, I'm fine with. Because if I don't see him, I see the love of my life sitting right there next to me. If I see him, then I know I'm on to the greater thing.